outside consultant.
Good morning, sir.
Oh, they missed you last week.
Yeah.
You know, they missed you and your hands-on skills there, man.
Exactly.
Camera skills.
1, 2, 3, 4, check 1, 2, 3.
Hey,
Silver deleted? Yeah. Okay. I didn't clear the one that was on yours. One of the town halls on there?
Yeah, I clear it right now.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I'm on.
I'm all about talking to them about it. If you can do it, I'd love it.
Test 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, I know. It's the nature.
What is that? Put that there?
Yes.
I don't know if it'll be saved, some of them may not.
Yeah, our federal tax law. People, one of the things was that people got it to say, so they changed the law. That's bad tax policy.
You know what? I never thought outside. You're right.
You don't have to sit over there by yourself. Why'd you put him in the corner, Sergeant Hush? Trip and fall.
What did you do that to me? Why'd you let me down?
Sorry.
Are you allowed to take pictures in your official capacity?
Sure, why not?
I have to go receive the proclamation. Can you take a picture? Do me a favor. Get your good side. It's just between brothers.
You need the shiny pen for the picture, right?
Oh, you can use your phone. Well, if I use yours, then I won't have to transfer. Okay.
Good morning. I want to welcome you to the Board of Supervisors April 1st meeting, and it's no joke, even though it's April Fool's, we're really here. With that, roll call, please.
Supervisor Carroll.
Here.
Supervisor Elias.
Presented.
Supervisor Miller. Here. Supervisor Valdez. Present. Chair Brunson. Here. Let the record show all members are present.
Please rise for the invocation to be offered by Reverend Ken Cosentino of Calvary Assembly of God and the Pledge of Allegiance to follow, led by Supervisor Carroll.
Heavenly Father, we thank you today for the freedoms that you've granted us. We thank you for your love and your care. And Lord, at this meeting today, God, we pray that as the business of Pima County is undertaken, God, that you would give us wisdom and discernment. Lord, that you would bless this time and bless this meeting. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Chair,
Supervisor Elias.
Along my personal privilege to recognize some students from Lewis Academy that are here with us this morning. We just appreciate it. They're over there in the back row. The row behind them is our staff. But I just thought I'd delineate it.
And their teachers here too, I see.
Absolutely. So they're going to be around after the meeting if anybody wants to say hi to them too. I appreciate it.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Let's now.
Could I add one more thing in my personal privilege? I was just thinking that, you know, we have a lot of cameras in here now for a lot of different purposes from a lot of different people. I just would warn members of the audience that the audience cameras that are not controlled by Pima County are left on during the breaks. So if you want to keep your conversations private, I would stay away from it. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Let's move on to pause for pause. And we have Officer Const, is it? Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes.
And who do you have with you today? Looks like he is ready to go. And this is what, Hot Rod?
This is Hot Rod. He is a pit bull, Callahoola, lab, greyhound. He's got a lot of different things in him. Kind of a very unique dog. He's very active. He's about 1.5 years old. What else we got going here?
He's neutered?
Yes, he is. I'll tell you his story. He came in with 5 other dogs about,
You don't want to get your head too close there.
he's fine. He came in last November, 2013, with 5 other dogs. A lady found him in the yard. Several months later, he went out for adoption. And then here at the beginning of March, he came back because the owner moved into an apartment and couldn't keep him. The owner had 3 kids. He said the dog was great with kids and other dogs. I took him to the cat room. He wasn't even interested. So I take it he gets along with cats too. He's a very, very active dog. He is ready to go. If somebody's a runner, somebody's a hiker, this dog would definitely keep you busy. He does listen and stay right here with me. He likes to check out everything. As you can see, anybody that's making a noise, he's checking them out. Currently, he is just $15 because he's been there over 2 weeks. He's just the cost of the license. They are running a special through April that any dog that has been there, or any dog or cat that's been there over 2 weeks is just the cost of the license, which is $15. They do have some special needs adoption dogs down there. Usually they are just the cost of the license. And then the cats, if they're special needs, they're free. As far as him, he's neutered, he's ready to go. Shots current.
And he's looking like he wants those, he sees those nice young ladies and gentlemen in back. And it looks like he'd love to belong to one of them.
He'd love to go with anybody.
I don't know, Jamar, you look for a dog or they're not yet? I'm just trying to be helpful.
No,
Hey, he can sit. You sit down? Sit. Since he's been there, they've been trying to teach him to, but he hasn't got that done yet.
all right. Thank you, officer. We do have some changes to the agenda, and we are looking at the regular agenda now. Page 4, item 16, page 5, item 17, and page 5, item 18. These are under transportation, traffic resolutions. Staff has asked that we remove them from the agenda. The Mount Lemon Marathon and Bicycle Grand Fondo event has been canceled.
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Carroll.
Madam Chair, just to explain that, if I might, if it's okay with the chair. This was a Grand Fondo that's being orchestrated and assisted by the committee that first initially ran the Mount Lemon Marathon, but because of their takeover of the event and all the other moving parts, we've decided as a group to postpone, not to cancel permanently, but to postpone this until next year so we can have all our ducks in a row and have a very flawless and seamless exercise for Mount Lemon visitors, as well as residents, as well as participants in the Great Grand Fondo. So please mark your calendars for next year. We like to fail to mention all the neighbors have been fabulously supportive. And right now, I want to say that all the organizers did a good job and a very courageous thing to delay this for a year. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We do have additional changes this time to the consent calendar. Page 7, item 2, contract and award community services, employment and training. Staff has requested that this item be removed from the agenda at this time. And then moving on to page 8, item 11, contract and award procurement low bid. Staff requests that this item be removed from the agenda at this time. With that, there are no other changes to the agenda, and if there are no objections, the agenda will be amended as indicated. We move on now to presentation of proclamation to, and it's Deputy Tracy. Oh yeah, there. Okay, there you are. Gotcha. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the presentation proclamation. Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Supervisor Valdez, will you do us the honors?
Deputy Sue. It was a pleasure meeting you outside and you fell victim to Sergeant Ogden's April Fool's joke. But that every once in a while, you know. And I'll read it. Whereas the peace officers of Pima County are known for their devotion and dedication to the pursuit of preserving the peace and safety of every man, woman, and child in this county. And whereas the peace officers of Pima County are engaged in a difficult and sometimes dangerous profession, which at times can lead to injury or even death of those officers. And whereas each day the peace officers of Pima County endeavor to reduce crime on the streets, dangers on our freeways and roadways, and injury and death of our citizens, as well as protect us from all other kinds of crimes. And whereas the peace officers of Pima County also engage in crime prevention programs designed to further enhance the peace and safety of all citizens. Now therefore be it resolved that the Pima County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaims April 27th through May 3rd, 2014 to be Pima County Peace Officers Memorial Week, and be it further resolved that the Pima County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaims May 2nd, 2014 to be Pima County Peace Officers Memorial Day and urges all citizens of the county to recognize and remember the sacrifices that these officers and their families have made and the legacy they have entrusted to all of us. Passed and adopted this first day of April 2014. Thank you. Do I have yours? Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Officer Deputy. All right, moving on, I'm going to, with another presentation proclamation. It's on the addendum, item number 1. What's the pleasure of the board on this item?
Move the item.
Motion and a second to approve the proclamation for Sam Goldman Wildlife Hospital Dedication Day. Are there any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. And Supervisor Carroll, would you be kind enough to do the proclamation, present the proclamation to Dee Kidd, who's Executive Director? And I think, is Dan with you too? Dan, you want to come on up?
Thank you so much for getting here, Dee. Last time I saw all of you was at the playground. We had a nice opening of the Rich Rod video that he did for his love of the cats and love of the Tucson Wildlife Center. So all of your successes brought us to this day. We're really excited about the opening. And thanks to the memory and the blessed memory of Sam Goldman, the Wildlife Hospital is his name. The Wildlife Center is now going to be providing more thousands of animals safe return and recovery to the wilderness that they came to. So thank both of you for being here. I'm going to read the proclamation. Whereas Tucson Wildlife Center was created in 1998 to rescue, rehabilitate, and release injured, sick, or orphaned wild animals throughout southern Arizona. And whereas in the beginning, the Tucson Wildlife Center was treating approximately 300 animals per day. Today they are treating more than per year. Sorry about that. Seemed like a lot. Or, let me start. They are treating more than 1,000 animals each year. Tucson Wildlife Center operates with a small staff and over 70 volunteers, including a volunteer board of directors and volunteer veterinarians. Tucson Wildlife Center promotes habitat protection and coexistence through education. And whereas Tucson Wildlife Center is supported by the local community and donors, whereas from the request of Sam Goldman, the Tucson Wildlife Center was able to build the first state-of-the-art wildlife hospital in Arizona. On October 20th, 2012, the Tucson Wildlife Center celebrated the groundbreaking for the Sam Goldman Wildlife Hospital. It was a great event. Whereas the Sam Goldman Wildlife Hospital features cutting-edge technology that is one of a kind in southern Arizona. In addition to animal care, the Sam Goldman Wildlife Hospital has a unique education room designed to engage coming generations and increase local awareness. And whereas with the new Sam Goldman Wildlife Hospital, the Tucson Wildlife Center is now able to provide more efficient care to more animals. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Pima County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaims Friday, April 4th, 2014, to be Sam Goldman Wildlife Hospital Dedication Day. Passed and adopted this first day of April 2014, signed by the Chairwoman, Sharon Bronson. Thank you both again for being here, and I'd like to have you say a few words, if you can, about the hospital. I wish Ms. Bates were here today, but she's probably working, getting ready for your big opening, so here you go.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dee Kidd, and I'm the director of the Tucson Wildlife Center. And we're here today because a fellow named Sam Goldman and his love for wildlife brought us where we're here today with the Arizona's first state-of-the-art wildlife hospital. This hospital is going to, let me back up just a second. We started with a very little, I guess we would say, horse stall and barn area where we had surgeons helping out wildlife. We mainly take care of larger predatory animals and coyotes, javelina, raccoons, skunks, foxes, bobcats, animals like that, raptors, eagles. So what we do, we started out in a small little closet, as our veterinarians would say, and we went up to a larger area that the doctors helped us build. And Sam Goldman's executors went 4 states looking at different rehab facilities and ended up at ours and decided to create our dream come true by building Arizona's first wildlife hospital. So on Friday, we will have our ribbon cutting for this wildlife hospital, and we will start working there. Thank you very much.
Have you moved in already, or you?
We're in the process as we speak.
And where is it? Tell everybody where it's located.
This is on Way East Speedway, 13275 East Speedway, so it's past Houghton on Speedway. We currently have about 14 acres. We have one of the largest eagle flight enclosures with a large pond in there for pelicans that we get every summer, and all the water birds that we get as well. So it is kind of a way east, but we need to be kind of out of the way, and it's a really, really beautiful area.
And if people can't make your grand opening on Friday, can they come and visit anytime, or what is the?
Actually, we do have tours every Wednesdays and Saturdays at 11 o'clock a.m. Until the summer months when it starts getting hotter. So you can call us. Our website is www.tucsonwildlife.com, and our number is 290-9453. And if you give us a call, we can schedule a tour. We don't really like any more than maybe 12 people on the tour because it is a rehab facility, and we do like to keep it quiet out there. So yes, the public is welcome.
Thank you.
Our event is Friday at 2 o'clock.
I understand Sharon Bronson's going to be at the big event.
It looks like I'm probably not at this
Sorry
point,
to
but
put you on the spot.
I was really looking forward to it, but
I
my
know
schedule
someone
got
from the board,
changed
I'll be out
around.
of town, but we're really grateful.
But I am
for all
going
you
to
do.
come make a visit for sure. I really wanted to be there on Friday.
I've been on the tour and met Wilbur and all the other refugees of the wilderness that find a place to live with you. So thanks again. Appreciate all your time and all the dedication. Appreciate that. Bless the work you do.
Thank you, Supervisor Carroll. We do have one executive session item. What's the pleasure of the board? It's on the agenda.
Well, then we move into executive session.
Motion and a second to convene an executive session. If there are no objections, we'll convene an executive session and return at the sound of the gavel.
Tom, Scott. Nice to meet you. You know, he's good. How are you? Well, I have an advisor to my left. He comes with good information all week long. One Barnell, he was up below the state last night, blows out his elbow all the time. Thanks, Benoit, Alberti, Rod, Rodney, you know, get rid of it. They have something to do. Right. Yeah. Henderson. Really? Oh. Boston had the rotation. Yeah. Until they got.
Oh, just like I had to work 7 minutes late because of working.
Yeah.
But yeah, since the beginning of this.
Velocity, 50 or something. Yeah. And you can buy the lives. Watch out for smoke. You know, that kind of yeah, good AAA pedigree, OPS loans.
He's gonna get picked up when he has like a 3-week stretch. And it's like, 3 weeks.
What agenda item are you on here? You're not biting on Archie Brad. You guys are building a relationship. It's not here. You're an air. You're an air. He's hardcore Boston. Yeah. Oh, Reed Johnson.
I don't know. Yeah. He was there.
No, they got him, the dude who used to be with Seattle, who last year was closer, they got hurt. He's lined up to be the next.
No, they will not give up on this.
Yeah, Reed Johnson.
That was this one the actual guy. He was like the ogre for a short period of time.
Oh, I get that. I need money now. Open day, I'm
You don't go back any money here.
well, normally I walk for my draft and money and I'm like kicking myself. I blew it all.
The number of guys every year that
JJ Putz. Putz. He's with Arizona. I had the Boston game on. Hunter comes in, strike, 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 strike. I had the big strike machine. Now he's closer for the Orioles.
This is Johnson.
Hunter.
Yeah. He got it. Never is too strong. But, you know,
Here's your inning.
Except the good guys. You look really hard.
Hardy's not doing the same thing. You got to one and a third.
He was
But you got to admit that. It's rare. It's rare, but sure is nice. You know, that they can come in and they shut down and then cover it. It's rare, but it's nice. All right. Good seeing you. Nice to meet you.
Good morning once again. Reconvening the April 1st meeting of the Board of Supervisors. We had one executive session item, Counselor.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, the item that we had for executive session is item 3 on the addendum agenda. This is a request, concerns a request by the law firm of Mesh, Clark and Rothschild that Pima County waive a conflict of interest to allow that firm to represent Legacy Connects pertaining to a property tax appeal related to property located at 200 East Yavapai in Tucson.
Madam.
Supervisor Carroll.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move that we go ahead and allow the waive for Meth, Clark, and Rothschild to waive a conflict of interest for them to allow one of their attorneys to represent a fabulous program, Literacy Connects Pro Bono.
Is there a second? Motion and a second to waive. Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Returning to the regular agenda, Board of Supervisors, sitting as other boards, Flood Control District Board. What's the pleasure of the board on item 6?
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Elias.
Yeah, I've got a number of questions about this item. Because it is unusual in several different ways, but it concerns me. And I don't know, Mr. Huckleberry, maybe you can help with some of these answers at this point. You know, we saw some charts here in the background information about the different levels of important riparian habitat and zero riparian habitat that's being affected by this project. But I don't see anything that really explains in any detail the calculations of how this dollar amount was come to. Because basically Rosemont wants to pay an in lieu fee rather than mitigating the damage that they're inflicting on this part of the Sonoran Desert. So, you know, I didn't see anything that really explained those calculations and what they're based on. So, I don't know, that's the first question.
essentially, how do we arrive at the dollar amount, essentially?
Yeah, because it's delineated into different types of riparian areas and levels of importance and underlying zero riparian habitat issues that arise related to those designations. And it seems to escalate according to how important those parcels are. So, was this Rosemont's fantasy? Was this based on a table that we create? I mean, so far, the mitigation standards that they've offered on all their stuff, the Army Corps has a big problem with, the EPA has a big problem with, so I'm feeling very uncomfortable.
Mr. Huckleberry.
Yes, Madam Chair and Supervisor Elias. This is an ancillary facilities or extension of utilities to a use.
Right.
And so what you have is that, unlike the Rosemont mining proposal, it is exempt from our regulations. So the pit itself, the dumping of the waste materials, and all of the other activities, the plant site, they are all, while they are destroying significant amounts of riparian areas, they are exempt because of state law, which exempts mining. The development of the water line to the site, as well as the electric utility line, is not. And therefore, what you see is our application of our code related to riparian restoration. And we can provide those calculations to you. You may have other questions because of, again, the mixing of exempt mining with non-exempt uses. And I think what we could probably do, if you're interested in this, is continue this, and we can provide you the detailed calculations that come from our flood control staff and the classification of the areas based on the mapping and the important riparian habitat ordinances that we have. We have always brought in, as you know, these items to the board for their approval, and they usually involve a small use or small encroachment or infringement generally. And the in lieu fee component means that the staff has deemed that there's no appropriate on-site mitigation as represented by the owner. So that's another issue that we probably have to take a look at to see if, in fact, there is on-site mitigation. Utility corridors are difficult because of the access requirements, and so that may be the reason, but I'm not sure. I did not, obviously participate in any great extent in this process. And so I think if the board's not comfortable with approving it at this point, what you might do is you can either continue it to a time certain, remove it, and then if you have questions, I'd be happy to have the staff provide the detailed responses that you have, and obviously, this doesn't limit you to, asking a question or referring something to me. If you think of it, after whatever you do with this item,
sure,
we'll be happy to continue.
Yeah, because there's a number of them that arise, number of questions that arise, but they all are based on that in lieu fee and how that's really put together and how meaningful it's going to be if, in fact, they offer no mitigation themselves, that they can't do it other than that money, and I understand that. And a staff's decision and all of that works into it too, but it's fairly complicated and it doesn't really make sense until you start to flesh out how those numbers were really created.
Thank you, Supervisor Liz.
I got another issue that I wanted to bring up too as well, Chuck, because I think it's very important too. The Arizona Corporation Commission has made its approval of that electrical transmission line dependent on Rosemont obtaining its other permits for operation before they'll approve that electrical line. And the Corporation Commission is not exactly known as being, an entity that's given to making rash decisions about this kind of thing. They've made that decision to delay approving that electrical line until Rosemont has the rest of its permits. I'm wondering if Pima County shouldn't do the same thing along these lines. I'm wondering what are the legal ramifications of that. So I think we would need to hear from council on that in addition to the questions about the mitigation proposal itself and how it's put together. So once we get those answers back, I think we need some time to ask some questions about it as well. So I don't even know what's a good plan for following on that one.
So you're essentially, if I understand you, you're indicating that they don't have a record of decision, nor do they have their Clean Water Act, their 404 permit yet.
Exactly.
So even to bring this forward at this point in time is premature, is that your...
Absolutely. And I want to know the legal ramifications of that, and I want to know how those numbers were created, given the fact that we're saying that there's no way to mitigate the damage that's being done. Yeah. A number of sides are saying that, too.
I guess then, you bring a good point, make a good point. Well, why is this coming before us now? What was the timing? And I guess that's a question we'd want answered. I don't know that you can do that today, but it's curious. It does seem premature at this point. Supervisor Carroll, I think you have.
I do, and I welcome Mr. Huckleberry to comment as well on this issue. But first off, I want to support Mr. Elias's extension of a corporation commission review of this because of the fact that that body is made up of a track record of decisions based on the fact of business and what they approve. But them conditioning this certainly provides me with the same type of questions. And if we could reach, for Mr. Elias, it would be across the aisle, but for me, those are my friends at the Corporation Commission. If we could get a comment from their attorney or their counsel to explain to us how they felt putting these conditions on provided certainty and safety for the project long-term, and citizens that elect them certainly had to approve and influence that decision. So I agree that there should be I don't know what time certain, but there should be a delay here to give us a chance to hear from not only the Corporation Commission, from our own attorneys, but also I agree with the notion that the record of decision from the Coronado National Forest approves the mine plan of operations only after the clean water section of the 404 permit is issued by the United States Army Corps of Engineers. So it's for me something that I'd hate to rush into. If we could get more information, it would be prudent, I believe, to postpone this. Thank you.
Okay, let me ask a procedural question as I get a sense of where the board might be headed on this to our counsel. Or to Mr. Huckleberry, whoever is the appropriate respondent, is there any reason why we can't remove this from the agenda at this point in time and then have staff bring it back to us with the responses we requested, or do we have to remove it or continue it for a time certain? Those are the two options.
Madam Chair, members of the board. I think probably the preferred route would be to continue to a time certain, which would be the first meeting in May. And I would suggest that there be at least 4 areas that we would examine. And one of the issues that we have is we're not quite sure at this point whether there's any time limits with regard to a submission of approval, and so that's one of the things we look at, but it's not one of the 4 or 5 things that you've asked for. And what I have is how we calculated the riparian impacts in those calculations, the issue of on-site versus in lieu, and why. The third issue is that, and there is 2 legal issues I think the county attorney will have to look at is, one is, can it be a conditional approval, which means you approve subject to, or can it be a delayed approval, meaning that you won't take any action until the other permits are secured. The third question I think raised with the chairs, why are we processing it and why are we proceeding now independent of the other mining activity? I think we'll get that answered. And I think the fourth or fifth issue that I heard was the Arizona Corporation Commission and their reasoning with regard to how they issued their permit and whether their permit was preconditioned on any other actions. And so we don't know that. It's probably going to take us, my guess, that's probably the longest time frame in which to make an inquiry and get an answer in writing from the Corporation Commission.
So what is the pleasure of the board then?
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Elias.
I'm going to move that we continue this item until we have answers to the questions that Mr. Huckleberry just repeated right now in his answer to us. He's suggesting May 1 is enough. I'd like to make sure that we have those legal answers in hand
So
before
90
we consider
days,
this item.
we need a time certain.
We do need a time certain. I didn't hear that from our attorney. I heard that from Mr. Huckleberry.
The procedural requirements of the ordinance are not absolutely clear on this, but I think it's generally preferable to have a time certain. If we come back at a time and we're not ready, we'll tell you at that time.
Okay. I would give us 90 days then and ask that we have an answer, come back to see if we're ready at that point to even make that decision. Okay?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to continue for 90 days. Are there any objections?
Madam Chair, I'd just like to comment that I agree with Supervisor Elias that there was a lack of information, and so I will go ahead and approve this, waiting the 90 days.
Okay, if there are no objections, then motion carries unanimously. Moving on to flood control item 7, what's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I'll move the item.
Second.
There's motion and a second to approve the item. Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Counselor, did you have a question?
Yes, Madam Chair, on item 6, I take it that, just for the record, that would be the July 1st meeting, that this would be, that item would come back.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand.
That item 6, the flood control use permit issue would be coming back on July 1st.
Or whatever the first meeting is in July.
Yeah.
That's July 1.
That'll work.
Okay, thank you. All right, we now are moving on to item 8, consent calendar and call to the public for consent items only. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to address us on any item on the consent calendar?
Madam Chair?
Supervisor Miller.
I'd like to pull, I move to pull item number 9 for separate discussion and vote.
Is there a second?
I'll second for the purpose of discussion.
A motion and a second to deal with item 9 separately. If there are no objections, motion carries. Supervisor Miller.
Madam Chair, my understanding, there was very little background material on this item. The only thing that was in there were the bids for the building, and we did contact the excuse me, wastewater department, and this facility is for the University of Arizona. They're going to be leasing a portion of this facility, and what I would like to do is to be able to have a look at what that lease is going to look like. We weren't excuse me, we weren't able to obtain a copy of the lease, so we have no information on what the terms of that lease will be, the time frame, the dollars per square foot, the maintenance agreement, termination clauses, those sorts of things. So like Supervisor Elias, I would like to get more information on this item prior to approval. So I would move that we continue this item until we get that information, because we were unable to obtain that contract from the University of Arizona.
We have a motion on the floor to continue this item. Is there a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. What's the pleasure of the board on that item? Item 9.
Madam Chair, I move that we just approve the item.
Is there a second? Second. Motion and a second to approve the item. Discussion? Objections?
Yes, I did.
One objection. Any further objections? Hearing no further objections, No objection. Motion carries 4-1. What's the pleasure of the board with the remaining items as amended on the consent calendar?
Madam Chair.
Noting that items number 2 and 11 have been removed.
Madam Chair?
Supervisor Elias.
I'll move the remainder of consent as amended.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the remainder of consent as amended. Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to item 10 under County Administrator, classification and compensation. What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll move on 10, Madam Chair.
Motion and a second to approve item 10. Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. We now move on to hearings, franchise, license, and permits, item 11. What's the pleasure of the board on this item?
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Carroll.
Madam Chair, I'd like to go ahead and ask if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak against or in favor of this Tucson International Airport agent change for their liquor license. If not, I'd like to go ahead and close the public hearing and move to approve the agent change acquisition of control and restructure 14030049 under FLP AC Tucson International Airport.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Yes, sir.
Motion and a second to close the hearing and approve the agent change. Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to development services, item 12, it's a rezoning, CO9-13-14, Tanque Verde Hay and Feed Supply, LLC. Staff report.
Madam Chair, members of the board, before you is a request for rezoning of approximately 0.85 acres from RVC, which is the Rural Village Center Zone, and CB1 to CB2 on property located in the south side of Tanque Verde Road, just west of Tanque Verde Loop Road. If approved, this would bring the entire Tanque Verde hay feed and supply store to a CB2 zone to offer greater flexibility for their business operations. As of today, staff has received no written public comment, either in opposition or in support. The Planning and Zoning Commission is recommending approval with conditions, as is Pima County staff. A small portion of the site is within the Nadine Marie Behan Conservation Land System. However, this is land that has been previously historically disturbed before the board implemented the Conservation Land System policies through the comprehensive plan. Again, staff is recommending approval, and that concludes staff's report.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Carroll.
Madam Chair, since there's no one in the audience or no one has previously commented against the rezoning, I'd first like to say I've been a customer of Dean Moreno and the Tucson Tanque Verde Hay and Feed Supply Company. He's a wonderful person and a great family man, and I, with great gusto, move to close the public hearing and approve with standard and special conditions the rezoning of his hay store, CO913-14.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Are there any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. David Johns was here as the owner's rep. He's sitting over there. You had said you might need to speak, but... I don't really have anything. Okay, thank you.
Tell him we're this close to calling it Dean Moreno Day in Tanque Verde Valley, but instead we gave him a rezoning.
Okay, thank you. There are no objections, the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 13, it's a plat note waiver for CO 12-72-112, Rancho del Sol Lindo, lot 264, plat note waiver. Staff is recommending approval with conditions. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address us on this item at this time in opposition? I'm going to move we close public hearing and approve with conditions CO 12-72-112, the plat note waiver.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to items 14 and 15. Item 14 is a rezoning ordinance, ordinance number 2014-12. Item 15 are comprehensive plan, rezoning resolutions and ordinance. Item 15A is resolution 2014-36. And item B is ordinance number 2014-13. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address us in opposition to these items? If not, what's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair,
Supervisor Miller.
I move to approve item 14, ordinance number 2014-12, CO9-12-05, and item 15A, resolution number 2014-36, CO7-13-09, and B, ordinance number 2014-13, C09-13-04.
And close public.
And close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve items 14 and 15, A and B. Objections? Hearing none, motion carries.
Madam Chair, I have a question, just a clarification. Chris, if you could tell me on item 14, if I'm not out of order, what the final came out of that zoning as far as our RAC, what's the rack on the corner there?
None.
The specific number?
Madam Chair, Supervisor Carroll, I could quickly follow up following the meeting.
Please do.
Go back to the notes. We'll do.
Thank you, sorry to hold that question over you, appreciate it.
Motion carried unanimously on both of those items. We now move to the addendum agenda. Item 4, County Administrator, proposed Hook M CO911-08 Andrada Investors LLC Development Agreement, along with Resolution 2014-40. What's the pleasure of the board on this item?
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Carroll.
Madam Chair, I realize the county administrator and the development group have been working on many of these agreement points. I think they came out to the satisfaction of all those at the table and the stakeholders included from the area. I want to say that the Hook M in this cycle should be a good addition to the Corona Day Tucson area, and someday possibly even an addition to the Sahuarita town limits, as I understand it. In the meanwhile,
One of the safest towns
I was going to say,
Arizona.
so if you don't feel safe, you should in the future if you move to the Hook M once it's in the town of Sahuarita. So thank you, Robert, for being here. Resolution number 2014-40, I'd like to move for approval of the development agreement for Hook M.
Motion and a second to approve item 4 and resolution 2014-40. Objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to item 5, issuance of highway user revenue fund refunding bonds, resolution 2014-41. What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Carroll.
Madam Chair, I'd like to go ahead and move for the issuance of highway user revenue fund refunding bonds, resolution number 2014-41, for the issuance and sale of an amount not exceeding $16 million principal.
Motion and a second to approve item 5 and resolution number 2014-41. Objections? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Items 6 and 7. 6 is a grant application acceptance related to the sheriff and the governor's office of highway safety. And then number 7 is appointment to the Fair Horse Racing Commission, boards, commissions, and committees. What's the pleasure of the board on these 2 items?
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Elias.
I'll move the remainder of the addendum.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve items 6 and 7. Are there any objections?
Madam Chair, I just want
Supervisor
to clarify, in the background material, there are some associated costs in this number 7 grant, but this has nothing to do...
6 is a grant.
Oh, 6, I'm sorry, that's, pardon me, the sheriff's grant, and, but it has nothing to do with cameras, traffic cameras, correct, Chuck? We want to make sure that the audience is aware that there's no revisit or rebuilding of our cameras to detect tickets through safety.
Madam Chair and Supervisor Carroll, I'm sure this is for giving tickets the old-fashioned way.
Thank you so much. I wanted to make sure a lot of talk about cameras these days, and I wanted to just make sure that people were aware that this is not a revival of any of the traffic solutions with cameras in Pima County. Thank you.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Are there any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. That brings us on to the end of both agendas at this point. We now are called to the audience. Mary Ann Murphy. I need your name for the record, and your time is, you're limited to 3 minutes. Ms. Murphy.
Good morning, Board. Missed you last time. I was in court. First, I have to give a shout out to the American Legion Post 66, their Patriot Guard, their Legion Riders who joined me that morning and escorting me into the courtroom. And a special thanks to the service members that were behind me, seated in the courtroom. I forgot what comfort there could be in knowing someone had your back. Thank you to them. On August 6, 2013, the American flag took a hit, the Constitution took a hit, and I took a hit. We're dealing with Pima County now, the Sheriff's Department, issues that came along. I need a surgical repair done to my right shoulder that was incurred during that arrest, transportation and incarceration. I am in pain. As I said once before, I've treated pain before with marijuana. I am certified to do the same in this instance. My processing card is in the mail. I've been to the dispensary. It's so close I can't grow my own. And it's going to be costly. But like I said to a few other people at Pima County Sheriff's Department, you broke it, you bought it. When I leave here, I'm on my way to the attorney that represents my homeowners association, as I have been given an intent to sue letter if I don't clean up the graffiti damage that's been done to my home. I've said here before, until my homeowners association, the Green Valley Council, and Pima County all join forces to repair stuff and damage that's been done, it will stay that way. I have copies of the letter for everyone. It's the last paragraph that I'm going to read. I'm fully aware of the stand I have taken on behalf of the membership of my homeowners association, a corporation, the Green Valley Council, Pima County Administration, and now the Green Valley News have failed the residents of my neighborhood, the Fairways. It was a sad day yesterday to hear that the Green Valley News no longer wants to hear from me. If I continue to call them, they will have my actions enjoined. They want to be the next to arrest me. After, the Constitution, this was in their Green Valley newspaper. I'll read just a bit of this, and it's corporations, the homeowners associations are all corporate, non-for-profit things. If corporations don't have legal rights to prevent illegal search and seizure, that protect speech or that provide for due process and equal protection under the law, it would be very difficult to do business in America. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Murphy. Keith Von Heineken.
Morning, my name is Keith Van Heineken. I am not German. The reason so many cameras are in this room, ladies and gentlemen, children, are simply the abhorrent and misogynist behavior of some of our board members. That's why they're here. That's why they'll stay. If you're so worried about the desert, Richard, why are you guys so hot and bothered to build a major highway up the west side of Tucson for 30-odd miles or whatever it is? Just want to ask these questions, because the local newspaper seems to fail miserably. Okay, the Pima Animal Shelter from your bond advisory committee, 32,000 square feet for people just under $12,000 for the animals. The cost is huge, $22 million. $503 per square foot. That's about 5 times what it cost to build the average home. It's over twice what it cost to build a hospital. Is it gold-plated? Are all of our bond issues in this county filled with 300% worth of graft, corruption, kickbacks? Where's it go? I looked into most of the people on this bond advisory committee and think they'd be smarter than that. County-city relationship in this area is incestuous. The voters trust you to file. The taxpayer dollars you waste. The citizens you apparently despise. Illegal alien invaders, though, we love. Job creators you abuse, i.e. Rosemont, Raytheon, the Air Force, Great Canyon University, doesn't matter. Honor, most of you have none. But then again, 13 out of 14 of the city leadership and county leadership are Democrats. May God have mercy on your souls, because the monster you have created in your citizens will not. Now, we can go on for days, but the simple fact is on the 28th of March, Judge Sotomayor of the Supreme Court in U.S. versus Castleman changed our constitutional Bill of Rights forever. It is now the Bill of If. So now we have a tyrant in the White House, tyrants in the Supreme Court, tyrants in the Senate. The only people doing their job are in the House of Representatives, and me. You all have a long way to go. I don't know how much more that the people will stand before they finally wake up. These questions I asked also of our Arizona Daily Star. Where are the articles on the questions I asked? How duplicitous and how obvious is it? When it comes down to simple facts, they don't lie. They've got a great piece of paper today. Oro Valley, Sahuarita, great places, safest places around. It takes to the end of the article to say, oh, by the way, Tucson, well, it's the least safe place to live in the state. But then again, I'll say it again. That's because they voted 86% Democrat for the last 73 years. Have a nice day.
Jerry Ottoboni.
Madam Chairman and Board of Supervisors, my name is Jerry Ottoboni and I live in Oro Valley. I want to speak about the $22 million Taj Mahal. This facility would cost $502 a square foot. This is not Beverly Hills. Since the furniture for the supervisors must be purchased at Goldman's Furniture Store, does that mean the furniture for this facility must be purchased at this very expensive store as well? There's an MDA building up on Skyline that is very high-end, state-of-the-art, upscale. Costs $110 a square foot. So the $22 million is way overpriced. So I'm guessing the reason it's so expensive is due to a great deal of pork in the contract. A wonderful facility could be built for $5 million to $7 million. Just do the research at other states who have wonderful facilities. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Bob Dorson.
Good morning. I'm Bob Dorson. Supervisor Miller, I find it necessary to make these remarks due to the comments made by you and your supporters on your personal Facebook page. You don't have to worry about me. I have never hurt nor threatened anyone in my 62 years on this planet. I don't know or care where you live. 6 weeks ago, I asked to see your office so I could view the remodeling work that you spent our money on, as well as purchasing a conference table that you spent $1,500 of our money on as well. I also wanted to know why you spent $600 on 2 nights in Phoenix at taxpayers' expense, even though you never revealed what that trip was for. And you also spent our money on having a website built and maintained for your own public use, even though the county provides one for you at no deduction to your budget. That one of your supporters would state, and you have not disagreed with, is that, and I quote, "I have mental issues and that my family has a history of violence with firearms." The group that want to shut Ali up are pushing him to continue harassing Miller, which could lead to violence against Miller. It is sad that these two haters, along with other Board of Supervisor members, are goading him to continue harassment, which is exactly the path Jared Loughner went down. This is despicable, and I hope KVOI ups their standards given what happened in Tucson with the Gabby Gifford shooting, end quote. Since you did nothing to argue against what was said here, you obviously agree with these comments, as well as other similar remarks made. Not only have I never heard anyone, but my late brother, who these comments are also referring to, never hurt a fly. The 1,000 people who were at his funeral will attest to the tremendously high esteem that he was held as a person and as one of the outstanding teachers in our community. I'll let the public decide where you stand.
Thank you, Mr. Dorson. Is there anyone else who wishes to address us at call to the public at this point? Mr. Harris? I don't have a green card for you, so we're going to ask at the end of your remarks that you fill one of the green cards out. And we need your name for the record.
My name is Robert W. Harris. I'd like to make a comment concerning Rosemont Copper. It's an honor and a pleasure to be able to see everybody this morning and to have the opportunity to make my comments known. The other day, I went to a meeting with Supervisor Miller and found out that she was unaware of the difference between a patented and an unpatented mining claim. I believe that for making decisions concerning Rosemont Copper, that there are certain basic facts that need to be known, and that's one of them. Rosemont Copper has asked for 3,500 acres for extra land to put dumps on and what have you. But in truth, in absolute truth, Rosemont Copper has got over 16,000 acres of unpatented mining claims in the Santa Rita Mountains. Unpatented mining claim is a mining claim where you have the ability to control it. You don't own it, but you control it. And Rosemont has stated quite publicly and in the record that they will control that 16,000 acres, and they will use it for what they want to use it for. So 3,500 acres is somewhat of a mistake. And a patented mining claim is land that the government has given to an individual so that they can make it their personal land. You have 100% ownership rights to patented land. Rosemont had about 900 acres of patented land when they started. My point is, you need to know the difference between a patented and an unpatented mining claim when they start talking the numbers. You need to know the difference about where the border is of their claim. They have mining claims that cross the peak of the Santa Ritas and go to the west side so you can see it from Green Valley, and it will be mined. That's really all I wanted to say, is that when you're making the decisions, remember that there are those out there I've lived in my home for 30 years. If I lose my water, I'm going to lose my home. And I don't need people making decisions who don't understand it. And I'm trying to help you understand. I'm sorry, I got Parkinson's. It's tough. Thank you.
Paris. Is there anyone else who wishes to address us at this point? If not, then without objection, this meeting stands adjourned. We'll see you next week.
That makes sense. I'm being related to your plot.
That's a whole nother deal, Bob. I like that. I like that. From you, man? Take care, friend. Let's go there.
Doesn't matter. And she doesn't drive on that. What happens is the supervisor was arguing. It's fun. Give some to that. No, I didn't. He's driving out cars too. Sure.
Permits like that.
I tell you, the crowd more supervisor than the other.
Yeah, I looked out, I couldn't believe only a minute. So it feels like 3 minutes. 66. You're the what? Are you a father? Was your father in service? And then you can become a daughter of the It's only 20 bucks a year. And the beer is so cold.
Because Rosemont self mitigation, ineffectual,
She's having a conversation with a person on Facebook. Yes, in so many words.
So there's a lot of.
She does not disagree with what is being said. We obviously agree. That's exactly what I said. I'm sorry, you have your opinion, I have mine, and you, I was surprised, I'm very.
Be careful with cameras.
But now you're going to. I have things to do. You also have to realize that nobody made a decision.
They really had a diminished role.
I think the only thing I like from there is their chicken and green chili.
Take care.
Eat healthy. Yes.
I've had grinders before, they get old after. Well, you know what they're talking about.
You know, there's this graduated tables per acre. That suggested for this. There's some serious questions about that.
Yeah, because
It's scary, but it's
something else where
it's a 24-hour gym.
there's a law against
Not
that.
talking about
how'd you come up with those numbers and what are those numbers mean?
Right. No, I think it's a subscription. It's good. You know how long ago?
It's like right down the hall from where
And they meant the
I like from where it's like literally right down the hall.
So there's that question. The legal questions, the legal questions are.
It's maybe we should go not very
The money is turned down and the electric money gets turned off.
the underpass and literally the first right
Conditional fire can be
it's
made
the big bill, but
based
it's the
on whether or
first
not they
right
hit the
after the
legal.
underpass.
Crazy police district.
If we wanted to, we could require
It's like fully furnished, it's got a granite countertop. It's gonna be a washer.
for the electrical.
Great example.
Yeah. We have a washer and dryer. The room, that's when I have to go down the hall.
No, they're crazy strong.
Our bathroom and our
So there's that trifurcated decision.
But my dad's gonna do
The line itself.
use the rent. So we're not making a decision.
So you get all that done. But the section 4 program is part of the application.
Down the street, like that street right there where you're passing the apartments and then you're passing the neighborhood.
I'm saying you can be in fact policy.
It's really nice, and like the streetcar really long.
The air quality permit, I could understand. This is different.
That's your last.
Just keep talking about your and there hasn't really been any suggestion about what are the effects of that? How's that change water? How's that change any groundwater issues that might be involved? There's a lot of questions. All of that is critical. With even underlying zero riparian areas. So it's a complicated mess. These areas and then there's some designations that identify specific. Okay, so that's where the zero riparian areas come in. And there's two bigger ones. There's a B level and a C level. And both of them are right there in those 7 acres as well. So you have multiple layers of regulation. Regulated riparian areas that are being affected.
Oh, don't worry about it, it's just a few mosquitoes or creosote. That ain't what we're talking about. We're talking about that. That's actually
They're just building the roadway through it. Okay, but that roadway has to be maintained to a certain point. That's why we're saying we can't. But there's another side to it. There's the environmental side. It's not really. Okay? Good. All right, got it. Need more, okay? We'll do it. All right, take care. Jamar, come on, you guys. Come on up here. We'll get you as an announcer or something. You're holding them. Come on over here, you guys. Come on up all the way around. The sheriff is going to let us do some here in the background.
You're the boss, not me.
Okay.
I gotta come with more.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Okay, cool. Thank you. So you got it? Good.